Hey everyone, you're watching KTAL News Now. I'm your host Anthony Mocklin, and today is Tuesday, which means it is Tech Tuesday, where we'll be covering all sorts of tech news and new technology that is going on both locally and nationally in the world stage. And if this is your first time watching KTAL News Now, this is a show where we cover a variety of different topics, usually with a theme each day. And yesterday, for example, we recapped the weekend and the events that took place. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, will be an edition of Wellness Wednesday, where we cover all sorts of health-related news and tips that you can apply to your life to live a healthier and happier lifestyle. And then Thursday, we will look ahead to the weekend and the events going on there. And then Friday will be another edition of Football Friday, with football season being in full swing. The NFL starts up on Thursday night, so we'll have plenty of coverage with that, as well as the high school games on Friday night, college on Sunday, and then NFL Sunday back again. And we'll have all of that on KTAL News Now, which streams every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. on KTALnews.com. But today is Tech Tuesday, so we'll be diving into all sorts of technology-related news, starting off with the state of Louisiana, as they are implementing a brand new voting system where the Louisiana Secretary of State is hosting a public demonstration of the state's voting system. And Michelle Mason has more on that.
Baton Rouge resident and election commissioner Jennifer Carwell getting the rundown on how the Verity Vanguard voting system works.
We have fairly old voting machines. Sometimes they malfunction in the middle of voting. And so I was very interested to see what our state is looking at.
Carwell says she can appreciate the way this new machine allows for a paper voting option for double the accuracy in counting votes.
Your vote gets scanned and it goes through a machine, and then the paper ballot drops down. I thought that was interesting. Because the paper ballots are there.
We're actually showcasing a multitude of different vendors and different voting systems to the public right now over multiple days at the old governor's mansion. Louisiana is moving to a new voting system because our current machines are 35 years old and they don't produce an auditable paper record. The new voting system that we will get is going to produce an auditable paper record for every vote cast.
Joel Watson with the Secretary of State's office says our state needs new physical vote casting systems for several reasons, including there are no replacement parts available anymore for our current machines.
Nothing is changing this year. The voting machines that we have currently are going to stay through this upcoming election. We aren't going to get a new machine until 2026 at the earliest. So right now we're not sure exactly what that new system is going to look like. It will have an auditable paper record, and Secretary Landry would like to have a new system that includes a touchscreen.
And Secretary Landry invites the public to this demonstration on September 9th through September 12th at the Old Governor's Mansion in Baton Rouge. And the deadline to register to vote in person or by mail is Wednesday, September 10th. And then if you're registering online, that deadline is Saturday, September 20th, ahead of the October 11th elections in Louisiana. And switching to a more somber note, where school shootings are a huge problem in the United States, the most recent one being in Minneapolis, which took the lives of students. And schools locally and nationally are trying to take measures to prevent that from happening ahead of time instead of while it's going on. And students in Hope, Arkansas are seeing the effects of that, where they found new security devices at their school last week. And KTAL's Hunter Trombetta details how these safety measures are being put in place.
For students at Hope High School and Yerger Middle School, their walk to class in the morning will be a little bit different from now on.
We feel very good about our academic improvement. We also want to take that same approach to our safety improvement every single day, be a little better than the day before.
That's why the Hope Public School District has installed open gate security systems at campus entrances.
It's a management system for safety that allows us to vet students, volunteers, parents, whoever comes to the door, to ensure safety for all of our students.
It's a fantastic tool. It gives us an opportunity to be proactive and to find things before problems exist instead of having to wait until after and then us trying to take care of it then.
The district says they are more than simple metal detectors.
So they're top-of-the-line weapons detection hardware, which also has a metal detection piece as well. It depends on the setting. So you use the app on your phone to be able to go up and down on the setting for detection purposes.
They were purchased with funds from the Arkansas School Safety Grant, and going forward, they hope to use that same avenue to place them in more schools in the district. It is all part of the never-ending effort to help protect the district's most important resource.
One student actually said, well, we're going to feel safer because we have the open gates available to us now.
Hunter Trombetta, NBC 6 News.
And do not forget, if you are driving near a school, the school zones are in effect from now until the end of the school year pretty much. And the Shreveport Police Department is doing their part to hold drivers accountable in these school zones by installing speed cameras throughout the city and enforcing those for any speeders through those school zones. And just showing how important those cameras are is Grace Jensen of KTAL.
In just under 2 weeks from the beginning of the school year, SPD has issued 2,291 citations for speeding in a school zone. Corporal Chris Bordelon says the number is expected to be near 2,500 by the end of the week, which is not what SPD wants to see.
We want to remind our citizens about these school zone cameras because our goal is to have no one speeding in a school zone so that no one gets a ticket.
The cameras used in school zones use what is called LiDAR to monitor drivers' speed, which he says is far more accurate than normal radar speed signs.
It actually uses a laser and is fixated in a specific position so that when the car crosses that position, it identifies that vehicle and we're able to get the license plate off of that vehicle. So
Corporal Bordelon also shares how the cameras can assist SPD with investigations and solving crimes, helping to keep the community safe.
Each one of these cameras also comes with the ability to monitor the traffic to and from the schools, to monitor traffic up and down major thoroughfares so that we're able to use them to piece together other crimes that happen in our city, such as violent crime or burglaries or anything else that happens.
And if you are driving through the school zones, please remember to just be careful and pay attention to your surroundings. The reason they are in place is because usually whenever they're in effect, it's students getting dropped off into class or getting picked up after school. So there's kids all around. You just really want to be careful. You don't want to run into any of them or cause any accidents or anything like that. It's definitely not, if you're going like 5 miles over the speed limit or 10 miles over in a school zone, it really isn't going to get you that much faster to where you are trying to go. So at the end of the day, it's not worth it. So don't do it. Just remember that the zones are in effect starting 1 hour before and after the arrival and dismissal bells throughout the school year. And if you're driving somewhere else, particularly in Bossier City using the interstate, we have good news to share where the Louisiana Department of Transportation says that the I-20 rehabilitation project is over 90% complete now, and the final stage needs one more major traffic adjustment for drivers, and Melody Newsom of KTAL shares exactly what that is.
The I-20 major rehabilitation project in Bossier City will soon see another major milestone.
We will be reopening the I-20 eastbound ramp to Barksdale Boulevard. So if you're heading eastbound on I-20 and you want to exit at Barksdale Boulevard, you'll be able to do so following tomorrow evening.
With the project approaching its 2-year anniversary, construction has been a burden on those who rely on the Barksdale Boulevard exit.
Having to reroute is something that impacts everybody's daily lives and commutes and all of that. It adds stress, it adds gas, it adds, everything that you have to adjust when you have a major construction project like this one.
Immediately following the reopening to Barksdale, another exit will be closing for reconstruction.
We've got a final ramp that needs to be rebuilt. And so once we open that eastbound off-ramp to Barksdale, we'll be closing the eastbound off-ramp to Benton Road.
The project is expected to be finished at the end of the year or in early 2026. Melody Newsom, NBC 6 News.
And that is great news considering that it's almost finished. It can finally not have to worry about closed exits and just being able to get to your destination as efficiently as possible. And another technology related news / coming of the forthcoming is regarding humanoid robots, which debuted in a humanoid Olympiad this weekend in Greece, in the original site of the Olympic Games, believe it or not. And they competed in sports like boxing and soccer. And the reason they said that they were doing these specific sports was because they were the most realistic that they could technologically achieve at this moment. They considered discus or javelin, but they figured that was too complicated for them, as well as high jumping, but they would have required specialized legs for that. And while this is all fine and dandy, it's really cool to see, it's lagging severely behind the meteoric rise of AI, such as models like ChatGPT, where they learn information based off of data in real time and just adapt to that. And one researcher put it as the humanoid robots being 100,000 years behind in learning from data compared to AI models. And the organizer of the Olympiad says that he sees these humanoid robots first going to space before they end up in the home doing like housework and chores like cleaning dishes or washing clothes. And he called the home the final frontier compared to space, which is normally referred to as, because at the end of the day, these robots, a lot of people want just quality of life things and just not having, like, you want, if you go home from work after a long day and you see like a full sink of dishes or the clothes haven't been washed, it's just like something, you're just like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this again. Like, it just seems never ending, right? You always have to wash your clothes and the dishes and everything. It's never ending. It's an every other day thing. So having a robot to do that for you, in theory, would be very beneficial and would make your life a lot easier. So that's why that is the sort of final frontier of that, where you can have that. So that's one less thing to worry about throughout your busy days after work or after school. So it's just one thing that we can look forward to, but it's not very close in the future. They said it'll be at least 10 years and probably more before you have these type of robots in your houses, let alone being hyper-realistic. And the reason for this is because any robot can kind of just like walk around the city now. I mean, you've seen them pop up throughout the country in certain areas where they just kind of walk around and emote towards you or just say hi or anything. But when it comes to executing tasks with like dexterity and not just being a companion, that is why it is so far away to have that technology capable of doing that. But a professor at California, Berkeley, says that performing data, like whenever they collect data compared to AI, it's still lagging so far behind. And he says that manufacturers should make these robots with that in mind so that they can learn in real time doing useful tasks, such as being a taxi driver. Like you have the Waymo, like the driverless cars right now that are kind of in the same breath, but that's not a robot on its own driving and a human-powered car. That's just the car itself being automatically driven. But there already are some robots that are sorting packages in like Amazon warehouses, for example. But again, those are not humanoid. Those are usually just like cranes or like little claws that do it for them. So it's not a human that can walk around, hold a package, and like sort it on a shelf yet. So that is one thing that they want to try to do first. Just some practical tasks that will make businesses and workflow easier for everyone. But this does come with a caveat of taking people's jobs, which is explored in the video game Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you're a gamer, if you've played that game before, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that takes place in a not so distant future in Detroit in the year 2038. So at that time, there's these androids that are not taking over, but they're essentially integrated into everyday life. And some people like them and having them around and just having them like work around the house and clean their dishes and, like I was saying before, just do housework that they don't want to do. But other people see them as a threat to human beings and art, and that's kind of in the same breath as what we're dealing with right now with AI. But there's a whole subsection of people in the city of Detroit in that game where they are protesting, they're having riots on the streets because there's homeless people in the streets with signs that say, androids took my job, ban androids, we can't do this. So it's a double-sided coin of, yes, it'll make life easier for people, but how are people going to get paid if they can't do what they used to do in these warehouses? So there has to be some sort of compromise before we try integrating that into society in the future. But like I said, that's still a while away. I'm willing to bet it's going to be way longer than 10 years, but with the way technology is advancing, you never know. But the professor at Cal Berkeley says that they need to start training them to process data and react to data and implement that in real time. And one company that is doing so is Cortical Labs based in China, where the CEO says they are trying to develop a robotic brain. And the way they're doing so is using a biological computer brain in order to learn like human beings do. And they're doing this by having the real brain cells grown on a chip in order to learn from this data. And they process this data and they try to learn and respond to it so that they can think and adapt like humans do. So that caught my eye for sure, that they're using real brain cells in order to implement this. I'm not really sure how that's going to work or how that affects, us. If they become too like us, then it can be a little bit of a problem to where you can't differentiate a human from a robot, which is what the game Detroit Become Human is eventually. Like they're so lifelike and so human-like that it's honestly pretty scary. But it's a great game if you haven't played it. It's a very narratively story-driven game where it's this butterfly effect of sorts, where every decision you make matters and can drastically change the outcome of the end of the mission or just the end of the game. The game itself has so many different endings, so there's so many different paths and decisions and choices you can make. It really is all up to you. There's so much freedom that you have with it, depending on the route you want to go. But the Olympics itself, like I was saying before, they are not as complex as you might think. They could only play, soccer and boxing, where they were just like fighting each other and, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots kind of, if you played that as a kid. But until they start developing better athletic technology for these robots, they really can't do much else. And these limitations are a reminder that faster learning is essential to rival the rise of AI, which I was talking about before, where it's just lagging 100,000 years apparently behind AI in terms of its way to learn from and process data and implement that into their technology and regimen so that they can adapt and think like humans do. But again, that's a while away. We probably don't have anything to worry about, hopefully, but you never know. We'll see. I hope they don't come for all of our jobs, but it would be really cool to have somebody to just wash the dishes for you when you're not home, or let the dog out if you're going on vacation. So, but we'll see. We'll keep you up to date with all technology news on Tech Tuesday, which occurs every Tuesday on KTAL News Now. But the show itself streams every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. on KTALnews.com, which is also where you can get all of your breaking, local, and trending topics. We have you covered with anything involving the community, national news, as well as everything in between, from entertainment to sports to community issues to government, politics. Everything you need will be right there on KTALnews.com. But you can find all of our previous episodes of KTAL News Now on our YouTube page at KTAL News. Thank you for being here for Tech Tuesday. Be sure to join us tomorrow for another edition of Wellness Wednesday to learn all about health and tips you can apply to your life. And I'm Anthony Mocklin. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for joining us.